G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/malicious compliance video. Now if you love me as much as I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready to be bloody maliciously compliant. Now our first post is by user Cat Jesus, titled, "Treat all prank calls as though they're serious? Sure, have fun making 180 extra large pizzas. I work in a major pizza delivery chain that has been so far unsuccessful in out-pizzaing the hut. Our store is in a college town, and everyone is bored as hell right now for obvious reasons. So we've gone from maybe one prank call a day to at least 3 to 5, which isn't much, but still really annoying with how much more business we've been getting. Again, for obvious reasons. The worst part is how uncreative and low effort most of them are. At least 80% of them are, "Could I get a boneless pizza?" Or, "Is this the Krusty Krab?" With the occasional insert GTA fast food order copy pasta here. "Can I get a number 9 large and a number 12? This has been going on way too long, so I took up the habit of just hanging up whenever somebody started saying some stupid crap. The boss wasn't too happy about this, but didn't care enough to say anything until an incident when I hung up on someone who wanted that boneless pizza, and he called back pissed because he actually wanted to order. So I get a stern talking to from boss man, and he sends a message to the company's group chat saying, "I know we've been getting more prank calls than usual, but please don't follow in certain people's footsteps and just hang up on them. Take the calls as seriously as possible. If they order something we can't make, calmly explain it to them and offer them something we do actually sell. We want to try and make money off of them even if they're acting dumb." So the very next call is where the fun starts. "Thank you for calling. Can I get you, I'm so hungry. Can I get an extra large pizza with triple every topping? I'm sorry ma'am, we can only go 1 extra and double each topping. Okay then. Can I get 20 XLs of each meat y'all have? So like 20 pepperoni, 20 sausage, etc, etc. These people are obviously high as hell and giggling in the background the whole time. Sure, give me a sec to ring it all up. Okay, so that's 180 pizzas. The total will be $1,000. Don't remember the actual price, but close enough. And it'll take about 3 hours. Awesome, thanks. We'll pay with a check when we get there. Dial tone." So I place the order, and not 30 seconds later I hear, "What the actual frick?" from the boss, and he runs to the computer. "How are they paying for this?" he asks me. They said with a check. We still do checks for orders over 200, right? They can't have been serious, was this a prank call? Yeah, not sure boss, you said take all calls seriously, remember? He just grumbles and picks up the phone and calls the customer, and all I hear is super loud laughter as he hangs up. Meanwhile, other employees have started making the ridiculous order, not noticing anything weird about it. So by the time the boss finishes the call and cancels the order on the computer, there are already 5 XL pepperoni pizzas in the oven. So we got free dinner for everyone working that night, as well as another message in the group chat app saying, "In regards to my last message, please just use good judgment when taking orders." That's a good one. And our next post is by XGen Existence, titled, "My boss wanted me to train my replacements, but I didn't work there anymore. Hey Reddit, not 100% sure this counts, but I want to share my first story. I used to work in a grocery store back in 2016. I was 16 to 17 at the time. I don't work retail anymore. But I wanted to share this story since I still remember it to this day. It was a pretty normal night, right before the end of my shift. I was one of the few closers at my store, so it was just me, my supervisor, and a cashier. I worked the self-checkout/customer service desk. My supervisor had just collected the tills and was in the back counting, and I was starting my rounds to take back the non-perishables that were left at the registers. I also might add that our store had terrible camera placements. Basically, it showed all the registers and the supervisor's office door, which is where the safe was. This is important later. After putting up all the items that were left at the registers, I did my final checks of the store to make sure there were no misplaced/damaged items on the floor. I find a case of beer that was leaking in our beer/wine section, and since I wasn't sure how damaged the bottom of the cardboard was, I had to drag it to the front, so I could inform my supervisor about the damaged item before taking it to the back. We kept a cart full of damaged items to be taken out by the morning crew. Since the supervisor's office is locked while they're counting the tills, I call over to her and let her know that there was a damaged case of beer and I was taking it to the back. She responds with an absent, "Okay, sounds good." So I take it to the back and I place it with the rest of the damaged items, and go back to the front to see if there is anything else my supervisor needs me to do before I clock out. Surprise, surprise, there isn't. Next couple of days are fine as I finish up the week and wait for the next schedule to be posted, and I find out that I'm not scheduled for the next week. I figure there must have been a mistake as there was someone working at the same grocery store who shared my first name. I go upstairs to my manager's office and ask him about the schedule and why I wasn't scheduled. He responds with a, "Oh, my bad. I forgot to tell you that you are suspended until the investigation is over. By the way, can you train your replacement today on the shelf checkout/customer service desk?" Me, confused and annoyed at the moment, don't really pay attention to the second part of his comment. Ask him what he was talking about. My manager says, "We caught you stealing that case of beer that you took to the back, and until the police investigation is complete, you won't be working here anymore. Please turn in your uniform, name tag, and badge." I am furious, but I decide that I would just go with a bit of malicious compliance in this situation. "Well, boss man, I took the damaged case of beer to the back to be thrown out in the morning as per procedure. But since I won't be working here anymore, I guess you will just have to find someone else to train my replacement, since I clearly can't be trusted. I was the only person who could train someone for the customer service desk other than him." His jaw dropped. The look on his face was priceless as I took off my uniform and handed him my name tag and override card. I then proceeded to walk out, get in my car, and drive home. About 2 years later, I joined the army, and I'm going for a job that required a security clearance. Guess what shows up? That suspension with an unfinished police report and the tapes from the security camera. I sit there with my interviewer as we watch the tape together, clearly showing that I did not steal anything. Needless to say, I was approved for my clearance. I asked if I can get a copy of the tape, and my interviewer agrees. It took 2 years, but I finally had the evidence that I needed to sue for wrongful termination. But as the time is well over the statute of limitation, I am unable to do anything about it. Either way, I decide to go to pay my old workplace a visit over my Christmas block leave, and a couple people recognize me, including my old boss. He tells me that thieves like me are not welcome in his store, and that I need to leave or he would be calling the police. I told him to call them, and that his claim would surely hold up when I showed them the copy of the video footage of me stealing. The store had one of my favorite muffins, and honestly I really wanted one since they are only made there. The police got called and did nothing, and I got 3 muffins free of charge thanks to my favorite supervisor. Worth it. Alright, and our next post is by user Pinky Fits, titled "Homeless Guy Takes a Cruise." So, back during the first Gulf War, my wife and I were engaged and had a wedding and honeymoon cruise to the Caribbean set up. All expenses paid, food, transportation, etc. On those things, they have all-you-can-eat buffets in a nice dining room. Both of us were active military. Well, the military announces they are sending her over the Gulf. I stayed stateside but had leave cancelled. They ship out 3 days before the wedding/cruise. We were able to reschedule the wedding, caterer, flowers, reception, DJ, they were all cool. So I called the cruise line and asked to reschedule. They said no and the tickets were not refundable. I tried to explain we were active military going to war. Nope, no deal. I speak to a supervisor. Nope. Ask the military to help out? No deal. We knew nobody in the area and none of our family could take the cruise. We were screwed. So we went to nearby San Francisco, went to the worst area and found the dirtiest, most malnourished homeless 2 people we could find. Lice, bad smell, shopping cart, the whole thing. Gave them the tickets and told them to eat well. The only caveat is I wanted them to send me a postcard so I knew they went. Gave them a stamped addressed envelope. Got a nice card from Martiniqua. I'll bet the cruise people were bummed. Hey, that's great actually, I love that. And our next post is by user Tina Webb Mum, titled, "They fired me before I finished my day." Now, I'm a nurse. I work in nursing homes, rehabs, old folks homes, etc. I do the paperwork that is sent to Medicare. That paperwork has to be submitted in a timely manner, or the facility goes from $700 a day to $200 a day. Just tossing numbers out, I don't remember the amount. This is important in a second. Now, I worked for a facility that I loved. The people were wonderful, it was like a huge family. The staff ate their meals with patience, the independent people visited often, and our bosses were easy to approach. Then the bosses retired, at the same time. Our board then decided that maybe we would make more money if we hired a management company. All of these changes happened within weeks of each other. They hired a traveling nurse to head up the skilled nursing unit for a year. We didn't react well to her. She never smiled. She would just look at you if you asked a question, and she decided that new rules that didn't apply to her were needed. Shortly after hiring, she began firing everybody. It was like a war zone had erupted on the floor. Nobody smiled, no laughter, no visitors, no family meals, and loads of stress. I was the last one fired. Oh, I had been written up, 0 write-ups when she walked in, for things like cell phone on the floor, in my pocket, drink on my desk in my office, water, and filing a certification form late. Doctor signed it the day it was due, but they photocopied it before I had left for the doctor's office. So they had their 3 write-ups. At 3 o'clock on Friday, the administrator calls me into his office. I'm informed that I've been terminated. I'm floored. I work my ass off. I am actually great at my job. I've been there 7 years. I'm escorted to my office to gather my stuff. They have turned off my computer, asked for my passwords, and escorted me from the building. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. They called me in to fire me just as I was creating the packet to send to Medicare. I was never able to send it. They never asked if things were situated, but since it was Friday, I volunteered no information. Remember that timely manner? Well, that Friday was the very last day to submit about 30 different forms. Most were 14-day assessments that literally covered 14 days. Billing, friend, called and let me know that the default cost over $100,000 by the time they figured everything out. Edit, the passwords they needed was system admin. I ran 2 different systems for the campus. They couldn't access either without the password. As for my other passwords, hell no. Which includes the filing one, which created a longer delay. Alright gamers, our next post is by Eddie Minion, titled, "Mandatory late night call after you made hourly?" Yes sir. Now guys, please remember that I am a native English speaker typing on a desktop keyboard, so any spelling and grammar mistakes are my own stupid fault. So, quick background. I work for a big national company which I will not name because I like being employed, and we have a big software system that the entire company relies on to wrap stuff up and get it ready for the clients. It's that last choke point, bottleneck, where if it dies, literally all the work the rest of the company does is for naught. I run the system at the gruntwork day-to-day operational level. This system also typically has upgrades and fixes installed about every 2 weeks, and they always wait until late on Friday to bring it down and do the install so it doesn't impact daily business. Now, when these installs occurred, they always get a bunch of people on call to go through everything and make sure it all works before calling it good for Monday. Being the guy who runs the system all the time, I was always required to be on these calls. I hated them. The calls started at 10 PM Friday nights, so I couldn't go out and enjoy my weekend. It would last about 2 hours while the developers installed stuff, and at the very end I pushed one button to kick things off, so the suits could see that it was working and everybody was happy. This was literally monkey work, and everyone on those calls could have done it. I volunteered to teach them how, but no, they wanted me on the call. I was salary at the time, so not exactly like I could say no, and I wasn't getting paid anything extra for it. Can you see where this is going yet? Okay, so a few years ago, guidelines changed at the government level, saying anyone who made XX amount per year or less couldn't be defined as salary. They had to go to hourly, to stop companies from abusing glorified part-time workers. I made more than that, but the company went overboard because I was somewhere in the general ballpark and they didn't want to risk it. So bam, I'm now hourly. Roughly 2 weeks later, it's deployment call time. I ask if I'm really required to be there or not. Boss man says yes, I don't complain, because at least now I get paid for it. Oh, but wait, this isn't any normal deployment. No, this is a big one. They tell me I need to be on the calls that will start up at 5 o'clock, right as I'd normally be clocking out for the day, thinking it would be a quick check-in and then back out until 10 o'clock. I dutifully call in. Nope. This call lasts from 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock, when we got to take all of a 5-minute break and get into the other call. Now I'm home shored, so I'm sitting on this call in my underwear and nothing going on requires any input from me at all. Again, I'm not complaining because I'm getting paid for this, and I've got Netflix on in the background. Not only am I getting paid, since I did my full 40 hours that week already, this was overtime. So, 10 o'clock deployment stuff starts going on, and by midnight we get to my part. I push the button, I tell them it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to process before we know if it worked. Half hour of twiddling thumbs later, it fails. Some cursing from devs as they try to fix whatever balked, and I got to spend another 30 minutes resetting all the data so we can try again. Once everything is ready, I push the button. 30 minutes later, it fails again. Fast forward several hours. It's now 5 o'clock Saturday morning. It still hasn't run properly. Everybody is cranky except me, because baby, I got dollar signs in my eyes. 12 hours of overtime for watching Netflix and doing monkey work is gonna be sweet. Except it was even better than I thought at the time. That Saturday was technically some minor holiday. My company pays time and a half if you work on a holiday. So I had 7 hours of overtime, 5 hours of overtime with additional time and a half. I ended up making over half a week's pay overnight from that call. My boss flipped when he saw the check I was supposed to get. I reminded him that I had asked in email with half the team copied if he really needed me on that call, and he said I absolutely had to be. Unlike some of the bosses I read about on here, he swallowed his defeat gracefully. I got a huge paycheck that period, and oddly enough, I have not been required to attend a single one of those calls since then. Huh, I wonder why. Side note, Dev worked on it all weekend and got it running by Monday morning, so we were fine. Edited to fix the hours at the end because apparently I can't count. Alright gamers, our next post is by Foxtrot Sierra Tango, titled Yes, I Know Who Was Driving. No, I Don't Have to Tell You. A year or so ago I got a new truck. The old truck got loaned to a buddy of mine while he was between cars. Maybe 2 months later, I get a red light ticket for the old truck. I watched the video and my buddy was following too close to a bus and likely didn't see the light. Oh well, not a huge fine, no impact to my insurance, and one that my buddy will happily pay. My 3 options are pay online, respond by mail, or go to court. It really isn't worth my time to go to court, so I look online and there's an option for the registered owner to declare that they weren't in control of the vehicle and a spot for a name, address, license number, anything they need to be issued a new ticket. Interesting. I look at the mail form and see that the same option to say I wasn't driving, but it doesn't ask for someone else's name. Jackpot. I print the form, actually go out and purchase envelopes and stamps, and send it off to the courthouse. I got a dismissal notice a couple of weeks later. Alright, and our next post is by Carl0071. Do a chargeback then, you won't get a refund. Okay, I will. A couple of years ago, I ordered an express parcel delivery from the UK to the USA via one of these third-party parcel shipping companies. For those who are unfamiliar, they are a middleman, and they hold huge accounts with UPS, DHL, FedEx, etc. They then offer cheaper parcel rates and pass some of the discounts onto the customer. So, I ordered an express 48-hour delivery with one of these delivery companies for my 2 parcels to the USA. This cost me around £100 for the 2 boxes, and from experience with using the delivery company in the past, they have a delivery guarantee, which offers me a full refund of all carriage charges if any part of the shipment is not delivered within 48 hours. A few days later, I was told by my customer that the boxes had arrived 2 days late. Not a problem. I checked the tracking number, and it had been held up at the UK-based air freight terminal, which entitled me to a full refund of the carriage charges. I then contacted the delivery company, but I was told that although I was fully entitled to a full refund, I would have to speak to the third-party shipping company. I contacted them by phone, and I was told they don't issue refunds for delayed parcels. I explained that this was a guaranteed service, and the delivery company said that I was entitled to a refund. At this point, I was passed on to a manager by the call center operative without even asking. The manager was very obnoxious, and wasn't bothered that my parcel had been delayed. In his opinion, I shouldn't expect it to get there on time when I had paid such a low price. So you want a full refund just because your parcel is delayed? Yes, I do, because that was in the terms and conditions. But you didn't buy the extra insurance. No, I didn't, because the delivery already included £1,000 of insurance anyway. Well, we don't do refunds for delayed parcels, and especially if you haven't paid for the insurance. At this point, I was getting pretty annoyed, because he was making up this idea of buying insurance to cover for delays. The insurance only covered total loss and damage anyway. So I explained that if I didn't receive a refund, I would simply initiate a chargeback on my credit card for the payment. At this point, he raised his voice and told me, "Fine, try to do a chargeback then. We will fight it and you won't get a refund. Yeah, your parcel was late, but that doesn't mean you get a free delivery." I ended the call and got straight on the phone to my credit card company. They went through a rigorous process with me and asked for a copy of the original invoice, the terms and conditions, etc. Within 24 hours, they had refunded the full amount back to my card and sent me a letter giving me the reasons they found the chargeback in my favor. It also explained that the merchant, the shipping company, had 30 days to contest the chargeback. However, 30 days came and went and the money was still showing as refunded. 6 weeks later, I received an email from their customer service team telling me that they were willing to give me a partial refund of 10% to compensate me for the delay. Obviously, somebody hadn't realized that I'd initiated a chargeback and now it was too late. So, I replied and politely explained that I was told by the manager, stating his name, to initiate a chargeback because their company doesn't issue refunds even when their terms and conditions say they do. Therefore, as I was concerned, the matter was now closed as my credit card company had given them 30 days to reply to the chargeback and they had not replied. Therefore, the chargeback was granted. Not only did I never hear anything back from them, but I haven't used this company since. Alright, and our last post is by user Reva747, titled, "You caused the car accident. I'm not worried, but now you want to make a big deal. Okay." So I hope I'm in the right place for this, and please excuse the formatting. I'm on a tablet. This happened nearly 20 years ago. I had sold my car and a mate had a van sitting on his own lawn. He owed me $50, so he said I could have it. I headed over there with my girlfriend in a taxi, picked up the beast, and started heading home. On the way home, it started pouring down with rain, so we did a detour to the supermarket instead of walking later on. While driving down the narrow street, a car door opened and I plowed into it. I didn't have the chance to react. It was opened at the perfect time that it wasn't possible. Freaking out that I just hit someone, I pulled over as quick as possible and ran back to the car. There was a girl in the car and she was not injured, but crying. Freaking out that her boyfriend was going to be mad as hell because she'd come down to the shops to get him smokes. I told her I wasn't worried about my car because the bull bar took the hit, and if she wanted me to hang around until he got there, I could stay. Around 5 minutes later, he arrived and instantly started abusing me, accusing me of hitting his car, etc. I politely told him that his girlfriend opened the door while I was driving past. She was parked outside the parking bay lines. Technically, it was her fault. After several minutes of abuse, I agreed that we should exchange details, as I was going to get his insurance to pay for the damage to my $50 car. He laughed and started to pull out his wallet. "I don't think so, buddy. It's your car, but she was driving. I want her details." We exchanged details, jumped in my POS car, and headed home. Several weeks go by, and I received a letter in the mail demanding I pay the damage to his car. Quite annoyed by the insurance company, I called the local police station and explained what had happened. The officer said that normally if I were to hit a car like I did, I would be at fault, but because he knew the particular street and how narrow it was, only room for cars to drive in one direction at a time despite being a two-way street. Yeah, stupid, I know. It was actually the other person's fault. Quote rule, blah blah, alighting from a vehicle causing damage to another vehicle. Fine and demerit rules. I can't remember exact dollar amount or how many points you lose. I created my letter declining payment, why, and inserted copies of the 3 quotes I obtained from local panel beaters. I posted that letter with great enjoyment. Several weeks later, I received another letter from the insurance company stating that their clients had agreed that both parties should bear their own cost and pay their own damage. Thinking back to how much of an arsehat the boyfriend had been, I called the insurance company. I eventually got onto a supervisor and explained the situation. If the police had attended, she would have received a fine, etc. The supervisor went silent for a few seconds and said, "She?" "Yeah, she the driver, not the owner, the person who was driving, the person whose license details I have." It turned out he had made the claim and said he was driving, not her. The conversation didn't go for much longer, but the supervisor did say that they would be passing the case to their fraud department. Several weeks later, I received a check for the damage to my $50 car. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was around $1,500 to $1,600. Edit: this got a lot busier than I expected. This happened in Australia. Each state laws are different. In the state I am in, it is not compulsory to have insurance. Silly, but not a law like it is in other states. If you do have insurance, it covers your car and not a friend's car, hire car, etc. to my knowledge. Not something you want to explore the finer details of after the fact. Pretty sure that's Queensland. Haha, bloody sunshine state, let's go. Without looking it up, insurance you have covers yourself, your car, and any other nominated people. I don't know what the insurance policies are regarding driving other people's cars, or others driving your car, because it's not something I do or allow. I do know that if someone below a certain age drives my car and has an accident, it will cost more for the excess. I know I have to tell my insurance provider what modifications I have made to my car, and if I don't, it could void my policy. Edit 2, I really need to clean out my filing cabinet. I found the paperwork from the insurance company. It happened on the 25th of February 2002, so 18 years ago, and the amount I received was $1,754 to be exact. It actually took a little longer than I remembered to get the payment. I'd also forgotten that I had sent them a follow-up letter after my call just to get everything in writing, and that letter was in June. So it must have been just after that I got my check. My memory must be a little worse than what I thought, or I just forgot the boring parts. In regard to the rule regarding open doors, I'm going by what he said, or at least what my memory of it. I'm not a lawyer or a police officer, so I don't know the intricacies of it. I simply know by common sense, don't open your door and hit crap. Looking at the law that someone found, yes, you're at fault if you open your door, but I would imagine it wouldn't be black and white, and there would be a little bit of grey area there. Alright guys, that's our episode of r/MaliciousCompliance today. Tell me what you thought about these stories down in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think of those. If there's anything else you want to hear from me, please do tell me. The comments are interesting, but bleh. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!